Hey, welcome in everyone. Dave Salentano here with Guitar Tricks. Wednesday night again. Good to see some folks already here waiting. Cool to see everybody. Hey, tonight we're going to be working on the last week of this rock and metal lead guitar style series I was doing. Okay, and we're going to focus on two-hand tapping. Right on. So tune up your guitars. Open up the video. Underneath the video is a dialog box, some text, and in that is the curriculum link. So you can check it out. It's Rock and Metal Lead Guitar Styles Week 5. I got my copy here with my notes printed out, ready to go. Have some tapping fun tonight. Steve, what's happening from New Hampshire? All right. Peter, good. From Sydney. Yep. Scott, cool. Terry, cool. Hey, Russ. Yep, from Vegas. All right. So let's start out. I'm going to go ahead and launch into a little thing. This is a little tune I wrote. It's kind of like my ripping off Eruption, because Eruption is essentially just tapping arpeggios for the most part. So there's some really good chord progressions out there. I like classical music a lot. Found a nice classical chord progression. And I'm just going to tap out the arpeggios. Check this out. It's all on one string too. And we're going to be focusing on just one finger tapping tonight too, as well, everybody. So it's not going to be too intense. I know if you've seen some of my videos on YouTube, and if you listen to some of my albums, I do some pretty intense multi-finger tapping where I use all the fingers on my right hand. But we're going to be focusing on the easy stuff, folks. Just one finger today. So here we go. Check this out. There you go. Voila. Cool. So let's see who else is popping in here. King 50, up from northern Nevada. A couple folks from the Nevada area. And Terry's here. Hey, Terry. So jump in, everybody, and let's get rocking and rolling here. And let me just kind of plant a seed out with everyone. Something easy. You don't have to think about the theory and all that, notes on the fretboard stuff. But what I want you to do is think of what are some very popular songs that have two-hand tapping in them? I'm sure you guys can think about that and throw them up in the comments, and we'll kind of bat that back and forth. Of course, the old Van Halen catalog, Eruption. But see if there's a couple others out there too. Hey, Bob, appreciate it, man. Yep. Right on. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. So take a look at example 1. This is a real easy thing to do with tapping. We're going to tap 17th fret on the first string, and then we're going to use the left-hand fingers to walk down the A minor scale. Kind of like this. It goes. Kind of real simple, like a pedal point idea, like Yngwie. One time. But we're going to do it like that. Okay, and you can, sometimes when I'm holding my pick, I'll tap with my middle finger. And that's one option you can do. But also, you might want to get in the habit of somehow cupping the pick in your hand. I usually do it in the crook of my middle finger like that. And that way I tap with my first finger. I believe Edward Van Halen picks with his pick between his middle finger and his thumb, and he taps with the index like that. That's not used to that. And I don't really know many other players that, in fact, I don't know any other players that pick like that. But for me, I just hold the pick like most of you do between the thumb and index. And then when I tap, sometimes I'll use my middle finger, or I'll just cup the pick in my middle finger like that, and then tap with the index. Okay. Let me throw a few other tips out to everyone as well. Okay. Zane, what's happening? Good to see you. And Theodore, cool. Sebastian. Wow. Some other folks pumping in here. Yep. It's very much like a lot of the classical music uses devices like pedal points, for instance, which are very common in classical music. Consequently, a lot of the neoclassical players in rock and metal do a lot of those kind of things. How does it work out on guitar? Well, you can do it like I showed earlier, just pick them. Whoops. Okay, like toccata and fugue, like let's see who was mentioning that. Sebastian. Sorry, I got a lot of names there and I can't keep track of what everyone's commenting, but I'll just pop back and check them out. But like toccata and fugue does an idea very similar to example 1. Okay, that's kind of a neat little idea right there. It's the same thing on the 3rd string, shift it over to the 2nd string. Okay, and just walking, tapping one note with the tap finger on your right hand, and then moving the left hand fingers down the scale and making up little melodies with that. So this particular technique or device is called pedal tones or pedal points. That's where one note stays the same, and then we move other notes below it or sometimes above it. Okay. But what we're focusing on now is to tap one note and keep that, the high note, the same, the 17 on the 1st string, and then walk down the scale, the A minor scale. And we're just going to tap like we're hammering on with the right hand. Okay, that's what a tap is. I'm going to just kind of take this back to square one because some of us watching tonight might not know all these little tips I'm going to point out. When you are holding the pick, we talked about that. Usually you want to anchor your thumb on the side of the neck. Okay. I don't really think it's good to tap like this because we don't have as much control over it. And it's very kind of awkward. If you anchor your thumb on the side of the neck like this, it gives you a good support and then better accuracy too. Okay. So I would highly advise that. And sometimes I'll even keep my thumb on the top of the edge of the neck, and then I'll put my ring and pinky finger or ring finger on the bottom, and I use it kind of like train tracks. Like I slide my hand up and down, and that way I can really feel where the strings are and play a lot more accurately. Okay, so some good tips to think about there. And then just kind of since Sebastian mentioned the Bach toccata, that section I played is actually the first part of the fugue from Toccata and Fugue. Okay, that part. There's another section in the toccata part, Sebastian and everybody else, where you're holding the low note, 1st string, 5th fret, and that's going to be the pedal point, and we're going to move the melody above it with the right hand taps. Try that again. You get the idea, okay? So we're not going to do that today. I just wanted to play that for you since Sebastian brought up the Bach toccata tune. Andre's saying hello, future slashes. Eric Johnson's Clapton's. Hey. Right on. Pretty funny. All right, cool. So that's the pedal point idea. That's relatively, and if you haven't done tapping before, it's a great place to start. It's just doing something like example 1. The other thing you can do real briefly with example 1, I always try to, whenever I learn something, I try to twist it around and see how many other ideas I can get out of it. All right. And it's good to do because then as I work it, I start to have it evolve and set into my style and my playing. Okay. So an idea like example 1, just simply going down the scale. Okay. Simple dimple there. Okay. Everybody's familiar. If you've done scales before and exercises with them, we've done scales in 3s. Where you descend in 3s. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got a lot on Guitar Tricks. We got a lot of lessons besides songs, there's a ton of songs on Guitar Tricks that are licensed and very popular songs, country, rock, blues, metal, classical. But there's also a ton of stylistic lessons. And we've got a boatload of really good instructors on the site that cover pretty much all the bases there. But on those technique and stylistic lessons, they're not anybody's particular songs, but they're great melodic exercises to do. And we've got a lot of things to help you learn your scales better on Guitar Tricks by doing sequences of 3s, 4s, and it's all stuff on the site. We can talk about that a little bit later. Scott, it's going to be a while before I can do that. Yep, Scott, just hang in there, man. Enjoy it. And trust me, folks, I know that a lot of this stuff is a little intense, might be over everybody's or a lot of folks' head, but some of what I'm going to be doing in the near future is going to be a lot more simple, a little more blues oriented, and a lot more basic too. So we're going to try to cover all the bases, not just intense guitar stuff for more advanced and experienced players, but we do stuff too for beginners. And I'm going to spend some time on these weekly YouTube classes going over stuff that beginners would really be into, like strumming concepts and basic stuff that if you're just starting out, it's things you want to know. Okay. So let's go from there. We talked about, doing example 1, do that in 3s. So instead of just going straight down the line, go down 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, then start from the 13th fret and do the next 3 in the scale. Then start from 12th fret and go down the next 3 notes in the scale. Then from the 10th fret, then the 8th, something like that. Okay, sounds kind of neat, and it sounds a little trickier, but once you take your time with it and learn it slowly, it sounds pretty cool. Cool. So let's go to example 2. And let me share this with you too, folks. Since we're talking about two-hand tapping, I've got a couple courses on Guitar Tricks, but I'll just share this one with everybody. Let me go back in there, make sure I got the right link. Okay, and I'm going to pop that into the comments right here. So if you friends out there are Guitar Tricks members, you can click that link and it'll take you right to the course that I did. It's called Two-Hand Tapping 1. And then, of course, there's got to be, if it says 1, there's also a two-hand tapping 2. But that one's a lot more advanced. Already, two-hand tapping 1 gets into some pretty heavy stuff. So I would start there, and then when you feel comfortable with those ideas in that first course, two-hand tapping 2 on Guitar Tricks as well gets really more in depth. Okay, so there you go. And let's go ahead on to the next example. Example 2. Another thing that's very popular with tapping is doing triads, doing arpeggios, but you play the notes of the chord individually. That's what an arpeggio is. Okay, so kind of like the little example I played at the beginning, I was just tapping out the notes of chords individually, like Eddie Van Halen does in Eruption. It's just tapping out notes of chords, and that's why it sounds good and melodic, because he's got a nice chord progression he wrote that he plays it against. Okay, so keep asking questions, folks, and if you have some comments or ideas, and I did throw this out, see if you can put up some songs, suggest some songs, popular songs that use two-hand tapping in them. Okay, and it doesn't have to be rock or metal. It could be some other style too. Okay, are you guys familiar, and ladies familiar with a guitarist named Michael Hedges? He's more of a kind of a new age jazzy kind of acoustic player. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he did a lot of neat things on the acoustic guitar where he's banging it and tapping and slapping the strings. We see a lot of folks on YouTube now doing that kind of stuff, but Michael Hedges was doing that a long time before the internet was even around. So anyway, let's go on to number 2. And my tapping course on Guitar Tricks goes over tapping arpeggios. I do a lot of time on that too. Okay, So this one we're going to take, if you look above example 2, it's got a couple chords. It's got an A minor, and it's got an E major. Then this goes to E7, and then back to A minor. Okay, and what we're going to do is just tap out those notes of the chord, the A minor chord. Oh, rad flying V. Yep, the biggest solo with tapping I can think of is Beat It. Yep, of course. Well, it's Edward Van Halen. Yep. So we'll talk about that later, but let me kind of keep rolling right on forward here. So the A minor chord, folks, has the notes A, C, and E in them. Okay, and that's what we're going to do is take those 3 notes. Okay, there's 5 notes in the chord that I strummed, but if you break them down, the 5th string's open is A, 4th string 2nd fret is E, 3rd string 2nd fret is A, 2nd string 1st fret is C, so I've got an A, E, A, C, and the open 1st string is E. So you can have duplicate notes, but you're going to have 3 different letters, 3 different notes. It's an A, C, and E. So we're going to take those notes, figure out where they are on the fretboard. You don't have to do that now because the tablature will clearly show you that. We're going to tap the 12th fret with the right hand, pull off to the 5th fret with your left hand holding that down. Then we're going to hammer on the pinky to the 8th fret. Okay? So we're just going to tap that in a triplet manner like Eddie Van Halen did, or Randy Rhoads did a lot of tapping as well. Okay, that's your A minor chord. And look how I'm doing all this. I'm gripping the side of the neck with my thumb, underside with my hand, so I got a good anchor and grip. Tap firmly, kind of come straight down with your tap finger on the 12th fret. Then I pull off downwards. Sometimes too, folks, you can pull off upwards. Try both ways because they're both legit. Sometimes I'll tap and push off downwards. Or sometimes I'll tap and pull upwards. Okay? Just figure out which one works better for you. For me, some licks are better with the downward pull off or flick off. Some are better with the up. Okay, let me just grab these comments right here. Indian Crickets, how can I play aerobic scale? Or yeah. You know what? We'll talk about that another day, Indian Cricket. Okay? You probably want to explore getting to know like the harmonic minor scale. That sounds really cool. So you can get that's the kind of sound you hear Yngwie doing. He does the harmonic minor scale and modes of it, particularly the Phrygian dominant mode. It's the 5th mode in the A harmonic minor scale. So anyway, Indian, if you're a Guitar Tricks member, you might want to put the name of your scale in the Guitar Tricks scale finder, and then they'll populate the guitar fretboard with the notes on the fretboard, all the patterns for that particular scale. Okay, there you go. Russ says, I know there are many lessons about hearing chord progressions. We'll be interested in learning your way of developing the ear to hear them in the future. Yeah, well, I'll talk about it as we're doing this because a lot of these are the other licks we're going to be doing in the packet are not arpeggios, but example 2 is. So, Russ, just pay attention here. We got an A minor chord, and I'm tapping the notes A, C, and E for that. And this is a good way to help you get to know your notes on the fretboard, right? There's not an easy way to do this. You just got to roll your sleeves up and figure it out. It takes a while. You might have to spend an hour just trying to find a few notes on the fretboard. But you know what? The more you do that, people, the better you're going to get and the more familiar you are going to be with the fretboard. A lot of my students want to get to know their notes on the fretboard, and I get people writing me all the time, emailing me about that. They want to learn notes on the fretboard. There's no magic secret. You know, we're not holding out and not telling everyone what the secret is. The secret is just practice, stick with it, and figure this stuff out for yourself. Instead of just playing what the tab says, figure it out. Like the next lick says E major over it. And the frets for it are 12, 4, and 7. Okay, figure out what those 3 notes are, and those are the 3 notes of your E major chord. Okay, so we got A minor, E major. Then E7, same as E major, but it just adds a 7, which is the 7th note up from E, which is E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Okay, so I'm going to play notes of the E major chord plus the D. And you don't necessarily have to play every single note in the chord for it to qualify as an arpeggio of that chord. It's nice when you can play them, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Like on this E7 one, I'm only playing 3 notes, but an E7 chord has 4 notes. Okay, so I go from E major to E7. What I'm going to do is leave off one of the notes, but it still has an E7 sound, and then I resolve it back to the A minor. And it's always nice, everyone, when you're done with your lick or your song, try to end on the root note. It'll sound like it resolved musically. Okay. Andre's saying, I have a hard time dealing with the distortion when tapping. Yeah, you know what? Hey, I got a good amount of crunch gain on there, but it's not a fuzzy, distorted, nasty overdrive. It's kind of like a creamy, smooth overdrive with a little delay. But here's the deal, folks. Let's do this. Let me change up my sound just for 2 seconds, because you got a good point there, Andres. A lot of rock and metal uses a good amount of distortion, but we should be able to perform this stuff absolutely clean. So I'm going to get a spanky clean sound here. Watch this, or listen to this. Okay, listen. There's no distortion, just a little chorus and maybe a little chorus, and there's a little reverb and delay in there. So if I'm doing example 2 there, folks, see how that sounds? A minor, E major, E7, A minor. Hear how it matches that? Okay. And then what I was doing on my little intro lick that I played everybody is tapping out arpeggios. So I was going an E minor to a B major, B7, E minor to B. I was doing E minor, B, E minor, and then B again. Then I went E major. Then, from E major, I went to A minor. Okay. And then D major, G major, C major, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, or you could do F sharp diminished. Actually, that's what I would do. And then a B7 or B major, E minor. So listen how the chords sound of that, folks. You got that's the first part. E minor, B. Now listen to the next part. I go E major, A minor, D major, G major, C major, F sharp diminished, B major, E minor. So that second part, E major, A minor, D major, G major, C major, F sharp diminished, B major, E minor, B major, E minor, E minor, and B major. And I just toggle back and forth. Okay, just arpeggiating the chords. It takes a little time to figure it out, but folks, if someone gives you the music for it, that's great. There's a lot of players I see that can play this stuff real good, but they don't know what they're playing. They wouldn't know how to create their own stuff. So I encourage you, try to find some chord progressions. Maybe you don't have to get complicated with all those chords I just played, but maybe just take a simple chord progression like C major, G major, A minor, F major. How many songs have we heard doing that? Sounds like Let It Be from the Beatles. It also sounds like chord progression from Blink-182. It also sounds like some Taylor Swift songs. Okay. It also sounds like some praise and worship songs. Okay. That chord progression, write this down if you're interested in trying this for yourself. It's a C major, G major, A minor, F. So if we went C major, and we just do the triplet tapping lick, because I could perform and show you some other ways to tap arpeggios too, but we'll just do this simple triplet one. C major. What was the next one? G major. That's a little bit of a stretch. Let's try it up here where it won't hurt you. C major. G major. Next one's A minor. F major. You know how that sounds? That was just on the fly, just tapping out the arpeggios for. Okay, so, and tapping is just another tool, folks, for your tool belt. When you solo, you don't always have to pick everything. It's nice to do legato style, which tapping falls right into that category. Okay, so anyway, who was asking about the clear tone? Andres was saying that. Yeah. So Andres, just dial up a clean sound and work on your technique. Because folks, if it doesn't sound good with the clean, the distortion's not going to make it sound better. It's just going to kind of cover up the imperfections and the slop, and it won't actually cover it up. It'll just kind of smear it, so it won't. You think it doesn't sound as bad, but it does. It sounds kind of noisy. So try to get super clean technique on a clean setting. And then right now I'm going to go back to my overdrive tone for our. There we go. And let me get that delay back on. There we go. All right, cool. So that's that. I'm just looking at my notes. I want to make sure I cover everything. Okay, let's go down to example 3 here. So I want to make sure we have time to cover this stuff. James is here. Yep. Antoine. Yep. Hey. And then Indian Cricket saying, if I play a solo, so how to play sweep picking and tapping in that? Yeah, well, you got to know your scales, Indian, and you got to do your tapping notes, and your arpeggios need to be in the scale. Okay. So tell you what, Indian, if you really want to go deep in this, you should book a one-on-one lesson with me on the internet. I teach through Guitar Tricks. I handle a bunch of their students, and we've got several teachers at Guitar Tricks that can help you. I can definitely help you with what you're talking about, but it would be better for me to see you play and hear you play live. I do the lessons like we're doing right now, except when we do them, I do them on Zoom, and I can see and hear my students. So when I hear you play, I'll know exactly what we need to work on or what you need to work on. And I got a ton of curriculum of my own, and I can also direct you to a bunch of stuff on Guitar Tricks too. So we should try not to get all caught up in watching too many YouTube videos of people playing, folks. Try to spend your time practicing. All right. And what you need to do is get your scales down if you want to be a soloist, and work at improvising and jamming over backing tracks. Again, Guitar Tricks has a ton of backing tracks too. Just trying to work in. Yeah. So as we do these next licks, these ideas I'm giving you, Indian, are ideas that you can steal or borrow or change them a little bit, but make them fit over a chord progression and try to work it in your solo. That's kind of just do that. Scott's saying the tone distortion point you made reminds me of saying garbage in, garbage out. Yep, exactly. See, so if you got a really clean technique, folks, when you play all this stuff, like let's go down to example 3. All right. This one's doing a sequence. We're not doing arpeggios now. We're doing a sequence, which is kind of common. This one right here is one every Paul Gilbert, a lot of the shred players, Yngwie Malmsteen, it goes. Okay, it's a really cool lick. Okay, to pick. A lot of shred guys will do that. But you know what? It also works out to be an awesome lick to tap. So look at what we're doing here. The notes are 12, 8, 10, 12, 10, 8. Let's just camp out on the first 6 notes of example 3 for a minute. Okay. And by the way, these are all in A minor. So if you find a backing track, everybody, in A minor, any chord progression, you can search on Guitar Tricks in their jam station, probably go into the rock category and try to find backing tracks that are in A minor, and you can practice this stuff over it. And I'm sure that you can find tons of backing tracks elsewhere too that you can practice over. But the idea is make sure you're playing in the right key and you're playing the notes of that scale properly. Okay, so the notes we're going to do are going to tap the 12th fret with the right hand index finger, pull off to your 8th fret with your left hand index camped out there, hammer onto the 10th fret with your ring finger. Okay, that's the first 3 notes. It's like a mini version of that arpeggio lick we were doing in example 2. Same one Edward does in Eruption. Okay, we're doing that just one time though. And then the next 6 notes is the same notes, but going 12, 10, 8. I kind of think of it as like going up and then down. You might want to practice just those 6 notes several times. That's a good way to kind of get the details down. Okay. And another tip for everybody, don't bite off too much. Okay. A lot of times I hear students, they're working on something and they keep trying to play the whole thing. And they've got mistakes and little things here and there. And every time they run through it, the same spots are kind of messy and sloppy. What we need to do, folks, is practice every little section of what you're working on, whether it's the song or a solo or whatever, just little parts at a time, maybe 1 or 2 beats at a time. If it's a lot of notes, maybe 1 or 2 bars at a time. If it's not as many notes, but it's, still a nice chunk that you can sit, practice, digest. Okay. So let's just camp out on those first 6 notes and just do this. How about 4 times? That's 1 time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And just try to get it clean. Another thing I'm doing too about the noise factor, when I'm tapping, I usually rest the palm of my hand. See what I'm doing? I'm resting on the thicker strings. Because if I'm doing this, hear all the other strings ringing? See, we don't want that because it sounds messy. So that's why Anchor gives me more support and accuracy when I'm tapping. Plus, I use that palm of my hand right here, and I just rest it on the thicker strings if I'm on the high ones. Of course, folks, if I'm on the bass strings, okay, when I'm on the low ones, obviously I'm not resting on anything. I'm just like this. Usually when we're on the lower strings, it just like playing conventional guitar, when you're on the lower strings, that first finger should also be resting on the other strings, not pressing like a bar, but just lightly touching them so they don't ring. So when you're on the 6th string, see I'm playing with my pick, I'm hitting every string, but all you hear is that one note. We don't hear this. That's messy. We don't want that. Okay. All these little tips, folks, are going to help you play not just sound better, but you're going to sound cleaner. You're not going to hear the other notes ringing out that shouldn't be ringing out. Okay. So just work with trying to mute the strings. And you can do that with the clean tone and the distortion tone. Either way, you've got to work with muting the strings. Okay. So the first beat in example 3 is this one. Okay. Let's practice that 4 times. Get that nice and smooth so you for sure know it. The problem is when people move on too fast, they're in too much of a hurry to try to get through it, and they don't remember the parts. So we really want to play it so that you memorize it. You absolutely know without a doubt that those 6 notes are okay. Next 6 notes go down to the next notes in the scale, just moving down the string. Now we're on 10, 7, 8, 10, 8, 7. Okay. I would do that 4 times. Just for practice. Okay. And then we move down to frets 8, 5, 7. 8, 5, 7, and 8, 7, 5. Practice that 4 times. Get that down. Okay, and then the last one went down to 7, 4, 5. Do that one 4 times for practice. And then end it on the 5th fret first string. Why? Because that's an A note. That's the key we're in. And if you look on example 3, the chord over the first part of it is A minor. Okay? So now, once you get comfy with each lick, okay? Nice to throw some vibrato on there too. Okay, now you've got to work with connecting it without stopping. Okay, so we don't want to go. Okay, you want to do it slower, folks. Again, a lot of people try to play it too fast. Trust me, if you can do it slowly, really good, and in time, take out your metronome. Okay, that's real important to do. I'll do that in 1 sec with everybody. Get the volume up on that thing. Okay, make sure you're connecting it like this. It sounds really great. It sounds rad. It's like a blur of notes going by, but it's very clean and articulate because we've got to practice it slowly, get it clean in time, and then it sounds great when you speed it up. Ken, hey. Yeah, no worries, Ken. Yep, we're just jamming on some 2-hand tapping ideas. Expand the text underneath the YouTube video here, Ken, and look for the curriculum, the blue link for the curriculum. It's Rock and Metal Lead Guitar Styles Week 5, and we're doing 2-hand tapping. Good to have you, too, by the way. All right, cool. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Okay, take it slow. Now let's do this. It's grouped in 6s. You see how every 6 notes is pulled together? That implies that you're going to do 6 notes per beat. But what we should probably do is do 3 notes per beat first to get it solid. So let's try 60 beats a minute. Watch this. And I'm going to just play the first beat, the first 6 notes with the metronome 4 times. Okay, and I'm going to try to play triplets, which are 3 notes per click. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 like that. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. And what's neat about doing this, folks, is that your tap finger on this particular lick is always going to be on the click with the triplets. 3, 4, watch. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, now we want to try slowly connecting the whole lick. Just do each one time, but the whole line. 2, ready, go. Okay, if you can't do it really slow and correctly, don't even bother trying to play it faster. It's probably not going to sound any better faster. Okay. So really, trust me, folks, the best way to get good is to learn stuff correctly, slowly, and then try to speed it up. Okay. That whole thing with trying to play it fast right away and people can't get it and get frustrated because you're putting too much on your plate too soon. We got to slow everything down. Okay. We're not in a race for this guitar stuff. It's not a competition. It's one of the instructors at Guitar Institute of Technology I went to back in '85 and graduated from, Keith Wyatt. He said, this whole guitar thing, it's not a race. And a lot of people think it is. It's not a race. It's like a parade. You're moving slowly down the street and picking up stuff for your float as you go. I think that's a great, wise piece of advice from a great guitar instructor and a great player himself. But just take your time with stuff and just add a little bit as you go. Okay. So what I was just doing, folks, is playing example 3 at 60 beats a minute. So just take it slow and go from that. Okay. Let's jump down to example 4. Now, this one is taking the same lick we just did, but we're going to move it across the string. So instead of going down one string, everything we've done up to this point has been on the first string. Okay, what about the other 5 strings? So let's check that out. That's what we're going to do for the rest of the curriculum here, is show you how to move across back and forth. Okay, yep, Andres, yep. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yep. Very cool. Okay. So, and again, everything we're doing today is in A minor. So if you find some backing tracks in A minor, you can try all these ideas I'm giving you, and they should sound pretty decent. Okay. So this one, we're going to start on frets 8, 5, and 7. Okay. Then we go to the second string, and in the key of A minor, the frets are 8, 5, 6. Then we switch over to the third string. Frets are 7, 4, 5. Fourth string is 7, 3, 5. Notice we're doing three notes per string. The fifth string is also that. Okay. And then the sixth string is the same. 3, 5, 7. And then it sounds unresolved if I just end on the G note, because we're in the key of A minor. I'm going to come back to that 5th fret on the 6th string, hammer that on, and vibrato it. Okay? Okay, see what I'm doing there on my right hand? You can see I'm muting the thicker strings with the heel of it, right? And as I work down across the fretboard, see, I start taking my right hand off the fretboard and just leave it open. Okay. And you could even do it ascending as well, folks. Start from the 6th string and just play it. Just do the lick in reverse. Actually, don't do the lick in reverse. Still play the lick the same way. Tap, pull off, pull off. Then we just go to the 5th string and do that same thing. 4th string, 3rd, 2nd. Okay, so that was just running up the scale. Then up the 1st string, kind of example 3, moving up the fretboard rather than going down the fretboard and then up to that area. Okay, check this out. This might be kind of neat to do too. How about you connect 3 and 4 together? See what that sounds like. If you're going to do okay, we're doing this. See how it works? Maybe I'll do the 3rd one. And then the 4th. Or what if we take that idea in any zone where you got three, you have three consecutive scale notes, you can start the lick there. And how about instead of stopping, I just go right down on the second, third string and all the way down. Okay, anyway, you get the idea. So let's flip over to the back page, and I'm going to kind of take a little detour, go back into some of the classical things for a second. I wanted to point another one out to you, to Scott. This is cool stuff. Quite enjoying it. Oh, cool, Scott. Well, ask me questions, Scott, if you got any of those or thoughts or insights, or if anyone has ideas for some other classes that maybe haven't covered yet, or we're not talking about tonight, post them up there. I take notes, and a lot of times the curriculum I'll create for these is based on what a student had asked about. Okay, cool. Glad you're joining it, Scott. I played some ideas from the Toccata and Fugue from Bach. There's another piece by Vivaldi, Antonio Vivaldi. It's called, he wrote a suite of pieces called the Four Seasons. He wrote winter, summer, spring, and fall. Actually, winter, spring, summer, fall. He wrote 4 pieces. The spring one is very, very popular. And it's got, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. The first part goes. Okay, so it goes on like that. In fact, I have that song is on my Earth, Victory, and Heaven album. And I recorded it with a rock drummer. I did all the bass, and it's got like, I took all the violin parts and cellos and arranged them for guitar and bass, and I do all the parts on it. Let me go ahead and share something with everybody for 2 secs here. And then I will play you what I'm talking about, this Vivaldi spring piece here. Not a fast typer, 1 sec. There we go. All right, this is a YouTube video I posted about maybe a little over a year ago. I'm playing to the backing track. So when I recorded the song in my album, I had the guy who mixed it give me versions of all the songs without the main lead guitar part, so I could play along with it and make the YouTube video. So check that out, folks. That's the whole song. It's probably about 4 minutes long. You can watch that later. But there's a section of it that when I first heard this when I was a kid and, was into the tapping and learning guitar, it's like that part sounded like it would be pretty cool to do tapping. So it's the section of the song later deep into it. It goes. Then it goes into this. me play that tapping part one more time, a little better. All right, here we go. Anyway, it keeps going, but that section is performed by the lead violin player, the number one chair. And I always thought that was a cool part, and it worked out. Sure enough, it worked out really good as tapping. And they're just arpeggios as well. Okay. Trick is, if you like that stuff, don't just learn how to do it, but figure out what the chord is. Figure out the notes. Usually it's a root third and fifth, maybe a seventh. Okay. And go from there. Yeah. Andres, this is the coolest lesson so far. Thank you, Dave. Well, Andres, I hope you're not disappointed when I start getting into the blues stuff, because I love blues a lot. And I'm also going to be covering some more basic kind of like acoustic guitar strumming 101 type of stuff too. I try to mix it up. I love a lot of different music. But anyways, appreciate it, Andres. Cool. Scott's saying this is really my first time trying tapping. Already about 4 times better than at the start with just the 45 minutes. Well, awesome, Scott. Yeah, good. Glad to be helping you out with that, man. Pardon me, I need to take a quick talking for a whole hour. I get thirsty. Hang on. Okay, I'm ready. So we're going to conclude the evening with tapping pentatonic ideas still in the key of A minor. So this still works for anyone that wants to try your wheels spinning out over some backing tracks in A minor. Okay. So what I'm doing here in this example is the left hand is just playing pattern number 1, the pentatonic scale. Pattern 1, the one I'll bet every single buddy watching knows it. And if you don't know it, you need to know it. Okay. It's the most easiest scale to start out with. And it's very, very popular. I would say it's by far probably the most popular scale pattern. Andre saying, I'm 90% done with the rock lessons at Guitar Tricks, and blues is my next endeavor. So you will definitely see me again. Well, cool, Andres. Yeah, man. Yep. Our Anders, our instructor on Guitar Tricks, Anders, created the blues level 1 and 2. He does a great job of it. And I like in blues level 2, Andres, there's some cool lessons he does on the 3 kings, the Albert King, BB King, Freddie King. Very cool stuff there. But don't jump ahead. Don't go into that. Start out with blues level 1 and progress through the course, because the courses on Guitar Tricks are written to be stepwise. The easier stuff's at the front, and then we go through it, and it builds upon what you know. So a lot of times when students skip around and then they end up having holes in their playing and questions, well, it's because they skip stuff. And that's why, like, for instance, I see some beginners trying to do bar chords. It's like, don't do bar chords if you're a beginner. Just work with the open chords first and just make sure those are good. Bar chords are way harder. And if you can't switch between your open chords without breaking the beat, the bar chords aren't going to be any easier. So really we need to do things in order. And the only people that know what the order it is or whether you can do it or not is yourself. And if you hook up with a good instructor, everybody, which I suggest to do a few times, just someone that can check what you're doing and make sure you're doing okay. That's why we've got several instructors on Guitar Tricks you can book a lesson with. I'm one of them, and there's a couple other folks that are excellent and qualified that can listen to what you play and then immediately evaluate where you're at, what you need to work on. Okay. Sometimes we need those reality checks, and it's okay it's humbling to say you're taking lessons. Folks, I'm taking lessons. I'm still learning. as we go, even though I'm teaching you guys stuff. I'm not really a good classical Spanish guitar player. I've got a buddy here in town who's excellent at it, and he performs and he has a ton of gigs because he's so good. And I found out he gives lessons. It's like, well, shoot. So I'm taking lessons with him because I want to work on that style and be better at it. And it's on nylon string guitar. It's not the Martin acoustic steel string. In my other room in my house, I've got a nice classical nylon string. They're harder to play. The action's higher, the neck's fatter, the strings are, the plastic and nylon ones. But like we were talking earlier tonight, if you can play really good on an acoustic guitar, clean, like on a classical nylon string, it's going to be so much easier when you get to the electric, because aren't the electrics easy to play? I think everybody watching that has both acoustic and electric would agree with me that the electrics are way easier to play. The action's lower, the strings are generally thinner. Plus, you got so many different sounds you can get on your amp too. Okay, so back to example 5. Let's knock this out here, folks. And then Steve saying you won't find those fundamentals anywhere else in such detail. Exactly, Steve. Yeah. There's a lot of detail. So Guitar Tricks has I think there were like over 11 or 12,000 videos on the site, individual videos. But like any particular song we teach on the site, it's going to have several videos attached to that. So we break down everything into bite-sized nuggets. Like when you learn a song on Guitar Tricks, you learn we start with the intro. That's one lesson, one video, the tabs for it. Teacher shows you how to play it. You should probably work with just the intro until you can play it really good. Then work on to go to the next part of the song. The next video will be the verse. Okay, it's broken down like that. Good observation, Steve. Appreciate it. Yep, I got you, Steve. Yep. Scott saying, yeah, tried a number of programs. I found Guitar Tricks was by far the best. That's why I'm still there. Awesome. Well, appreciate it, Scott. Thank you very much, sir. I started out on acoustic for years, tried an electric, and was blown by how easy it was. Right on. Cool. Okay, so let me wrap this up here. We got a few minutes. So like I said, folks, example 5 here on page 2, the left hand's just going to be doing the pentatonic in the 5th fret. Okay, for the first part of that lick, the first 2 bars, I'm going to be tapping the upper part of pattern 3 of the pentatonic scale. And the upper part of pattern 3 is just all the 12th fret on every string, except the 2nd string is the 13th fret. So it's kind of easier to remember. It's just 12 across, and then on the 2nd string, we do the 13th fret. So the lick's going to do like this. We're taking the old triplet lick we did at the beginning with the arpeggios, where we're tapping the note, going off to the index in the left hand, and on the pinky or the ring finger. And then we go to the 5th string, do the same thing, but you got to keep it within the framework of the scale. So we're going to tap 12, pull off the 5 and 7. String 4, same thing, 12, 5, 7. 3rd string, same thing, 12, 5, 7. Pretty easy, folks. 2nd string is 13, 5, 8. And then the 1st string is back to 12, 5, 8. And then I resolve it by pulling off to the A. You know that works? Make sure you're getting it even too. We don't want to go. Oops. Okay, you don't want that. You take it slow. Make sure it's smooth. And you hop to the next string. Okay, and then the second half of that lick, everybody, we're going to go to the 10th fret, and we're going to tap, we're going to descend, and we're going to tap the back part of pattern 3, which are all 10th frets on every string, except the 3rd string is the 9th fret. So watch, we're going to go 10, 5, 8 on the 1st string, same thing on the 2nd, 10, 5, 8. Third string is 9-5-7. Fourth string is 10-5-7. Fifth string, 10-5-7. Sixth string, 10-5-8. And then pull off to the A because that's the root note. It sounds like it resolves properly. Aye, aye, aye. One more time. So what you can do, it's not two separate licks, but you can treat each part as a separate idea. But once you get each way down, ascending and descending, then try to connect them. Go. Okay, pretty cool. A lot of neat stuff you can do with this tapping. It's limitless, just like everything else on guitar. There's really never an end. You know, right when you think you've got everything down, there's something else you can learn. So let me just kind of wrap it up here. Appreciate everybody showing up tonight. Andres, Dave, can you show a little how you do the vibrato end of the riff? I'm struggling with it because of the tapping situation. Yeah, I'm just vibratoing with the index finger. See, once I pull off to it, then I just hold the note with my index and then rock my hand, kind of like blues. When we get into our blues in a couple weeks after the New Year's, we're going to talk about all that good stuff, vibrato. But cool. So, yeah, that's Andre. Vibrato is one of those things that's very personal to every guitar player. It's not easy to develop, but it's really an important part of your playing. It's part of your fingerprint for your playing, right? Like B.B. King's got a great vibrato. Ed Van Halen does. Pretty much all the great players. Eric Johnson, everybody has really good vibrato, and they're all a little different. Clapton's got vibrato where he kind of lets go of his guitar and does this thing sometimes. Okay. B.B. King usually kind of shakes his wrist. Okay. Steve Vai's got this circular thing he does, which I've tried for a while. You know, it's good to explore all the different types of vibrato. The classical ones go left and right, which is a little more subtle. I really like that rock, where you can just lean into it and you shake it, get a nice wide vibrato. Okay, not everything calls for a wide vibrato, but it's nice when you can do it. It's nice when you can do the subtle one too. So folks, next week we're gonna work on a holiday Christmas song. Got something fun for everybody coming down the line. So tune in. And then the following week after that, I'm going to be taking off for the holidays between there. And then when we come back on the first Wednesday in 2023, we're going to spend one more lesson on the Christmas holiday stuff, and then we'll get into some blues after that. So check this out, folks. This is what we got coming down the line. Three, four, one. Oopsie. See that? I'm taking the melody and then incorporating the chords, and we call that chord melody. That's a fun thing to do too. A lot of jazz players do that. A lot of classical players do that, where they play the melody and the chords together. That's a whole other thing we can talk about, okay? But for next week, though, we're going to be working on something a little more hard rock, and this is on my Earth Victory album too. Okay, you get the idea. So fun stuff. Join me next Wednesday night. We'll tap into some of that and talk about stuff. There's a bunch of Christmas songs, holiday songs on Guitar Tricks. There's some easy versions for folks just starting out, kind of like on acoustic guitar, the campfire kind of version. And then there's some really nice, I believe we got a really super cool version of Jingle Bell Rock on the site. I believe Mike teaches that one. It's kind of like the way I played it. He does it a little differently. But I've got what I just did on it was my own arrangement of it. So join me next week, folks. More fun stuff on Guitar Tricks, YouTube's channels. And then on Friday nights, we got Mike doing his same time as mine, but he does them on Friday nights on YouTube. Okay, everyone have a great night. Theodore, appreciate it. Rad Flying V, you're welcome, buddy. Yep, good. Russ, yep. King 50, good. Never been good at tapping. Give me some hope. Yep, just hang in there. And you know what? It's not for everybody. Like sweep picking, not everybody does that, but it's all right. Just pick out what you like and then incorporate that in your style. That's what's going to make you sound like you. Steve, very good sounding, but my wife would expect it 24/7. Yeah, don't be careful of the family members. Zane, appreciate it, buddy. Yep. Cool. All right. We'll see you next week, Zane. Ken, cool. Appreciate it. Andres, you're very welcome, sir. Libra Atlas, good stuff. All right. Cool. And Irene, yep. Cool. Great, Pete. Cool. All right. Well, everyone have a super night. Be good. Be safe. Keep practicing and just hang in there, man. A lot of fun stuff to do on guitar. We'll see you next Wednesday. Okay. Bye, everybody.